In articulating the mandibular model, the Dourle copings are placed on the removable dies. They should be stable and not rock or rotate. The mandibular model is placed on the maxillary model, and this also should be stable and should not rock. Pieces of tongue blade then are attached to the mandibular and maxillary model to hold it in place during the articulation procedure. Sticky wax is used to hold these pieces of tongue blade firmly in place. 4 of these will be attached. This is one way of attaching the maxillary and mandibular model. The tongue blades have been attached, and now we will place plaster on the models and secure them firmly to the articulator. Before this is done, the ends of the dowel pins must be covered with utility wax. Should plaster get in these areas, it would make the removal of these dowel pins very difficult. This wax allows an access to the end of the dowel pin. The ring is lubricated with Vaseline, and shims are placed in the TMJ. The articulator is also closed to see if there is clearance and that the model does not bind. Should this bind, it should be trimmed in this area. The base of the model is moistened with the paper towel, and the paper towel is left in place to keep that model moist, and then impression plaster is mixed. The impression plaster is then applied to the model. You'll note that the mixture of plaster is on the thin side. This will allow us sufficient working time. The plaster is teased over the surface of the model and then formed into a slight mound. Then a small amount is placed on the ring, and a slight mound of impression plaster is placed in this area. Following this, then, the articulator is closed. If the plaster is too thick, this will limit the closing of the articulator. Articulator is closed until it hits the pin, and then further plaster can be added under the model. The model has been trimmed with a laboratory knife, and the plaster is set. The utility wax is then removed, and the access to the end of the dowel pins is exposed. The accuracy of the mount is now checked with shim stock. We should be able to get contacts on our copings. The dies then are ready for fabrication of the bridge.